Welcome to this tutorial on how to paint cherry blossom in watercolour. So for this you'll need a piece of watercolour paper, a pencil, masking tape to go around the edges if you want a border, and some watercolours and some watercolour brushes and water, and if you have a putty rubber, all the good. Okay, so the first thing to do is to take a pencil, nice sharp pencil, and just look. Now I've got some blossom here, but it's white, and I'm going to paint it actually pink because I like the pink blossom. And if you would like to know how to paint petals in white, then you can go and look at one of the other tutorials that I did, which is for a daffodil, and that will show you how to paint petals in white. So go and explore the other tutorials that you'll find alongside this one. So when you've drawn out your petals, look closely at the shapes of your petals on your blossom and just draw them out very lightly. The best thing to do is take a putty rubber and just lightly rub out your pencil marks like this so that they don't show through, especially if you're doing white blossom, because you obviously don't want your pencil lines to show through the watercolour paint. Okay, so once you've done that, just lightly rub out, and we're just going to apply a very loose wash to this image. So I'm going to take some green. I've got ready mixed colours here in block form, so you just need to water them down a little bit and then you can use them. But first of all, what we're going to do is we're just going to wet the paper using clean water, and this is called wet in wet, this technique. So you wet the paper first and then you will add your colour. So very loose, and then I'm going to drop colour in around the blossom. If it bleeds into the blossom like that, all you need to do is take your paintbrush and just push it around. Doesn't matter if a little bit goes in. We just want some colour in the background, very loosely. Okay, and you can bring it up and move it around if it's not quite reaching. I'm just going to leave it really patchy like this, and I'm going to take a little bit more dark colour and add that in, and as it moves it will bleed into the other colours, and we want to keep it quite light and quite loose. Now if it's bled into the cherry blossom itself, just take a clean brush and just move that paint away like that. Clean brush, move it away. And if it keeps moving, just drag it off a little bit. You can see it's just done a bit down here. Now we need to leave that surface a little bit wet because we're now going to apply some colour, some pinks. So like I said, I'm going to do my cherry blossom in pink. Now, again, very loose, very loose. We just want a nice undercoat. And if it bleeds out into the green, then let it. So nice and loose. This is going to be a loose watercolour painting. Now you let that dry. Okay, I'm going to paint this little flower here. I've got a pink, a purple, well, two shades of purple really. This is more of a pinky purple, and that's normal purple. If you haven't got purple, you mix cadmium red, sorry, not cadmium red, alizarin crimson with ultramarine blue, and you'll get a purple. If you want a pink, just lighten down your reds with water, or you can add a little bit of white. Okay, so I'm just going to colour this petal now in the pink tone If you have rose madder in your watercolour sets, then that's a good colour to lighten up with water to make a pink. So I'm covering the whole petal in this pink tone. And then I'm thinking, right, now I need a shadow. So I'm going to use the darker purple and I'm going to put that lower down underneath here. Now you can see that's quite strong. So if you have it as strong as that, then wash your brush off and just take it and just let me just get rid of that, bleed into the rest of the paint like that. And if it's too strong, you can always lift a bit off, but we need a shadow down the bottom of the petal. Okay, and then we've got this lighter purple colour here. You could always use that as well, just to give it some texture. If it's too strong, take a damp, not a soaking wet watercolour brush and just lift. And you can see that the transparency returns when you do that. So if you just lift, you can put the transparency back. So it's a clean, damp, not dripping wet brush. Okay, so I'm going to do that, but I'm going to do it on time lapse and I'll finish the rest of the painting. But the theory is basically the same. Cover in pink, add the darker purple pink colour, and then if you feel like it's too dark, just lift off sections where there are highlights. Okay. Okay, so here's the cherry blossom, usually in shades of white or pink, but can be yellow or even green at times. So even though I had white blossom here to observe and draw from, I chose to use the pink colour to paint with. So after finishing the wet in wet petals, I let them dry. And then I've gone over with a little bit of gouache. This is gouache. It's an opaque white that you use on top of watercolour because it doesn't absorb into the paper. So that will give you your highlights back. It'll also help you to put the whites on the stamen and the stigma. And I used small dots of yellow, cadmium yellow and burnt umber to paint the little pollen balls on the end. So as well as that, I also put some extra shadows in just to outline some of the petals and bring them out a bit more. Okay, I also added a little bit of a suggestion of branches and the green stems of each flower. You can keep adding more flowers if you want to, or you can just leave it very simple like this. I'm just peeling off the masking tape. If you have trouble taking off the masking tape, then use a hairdryer and that will melt the glue on the masking tape. Sometimes it pulls the paper with it. So if it starts to do that, like it's done just a tiny bit there, just use a hairdryer. And that will allow the glue to melt and it will come off very easily then. Okay, so there we are, cherry blossom, lots of it around at the moment. There's also a lot of apple, apricot, pear blossom. I've got both of those in my garden and they're all part of the same family. Rosacea family. So if you can draw or paint from real life, then please do. Otherwise, you can use my picture. You can take a screenshot and trace it or draw it. It's up to you. I hope you enjoy it and let me know how you get on. That's all for now. Goodbye. See you next time.